How you doing, everybody? Chad Thibodeau here. Welcome to another edition of Marketing 911. What I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be walking you through the 12 laws of the restart. That's right. This is what I'm calling the 12 laws of the restart. Now, if you're like anything that many of my clients are like, you're either going through some kind of restart or rebuild. I mean, hey, we all do it, okay? We all go through this particular time. Some of you aren't there right now, but you need to be. You need to get off your couch and off your tail, and you need to actually restart because your offers become stagnant, your cash flow is dried up, etc. So what I want to do is I want to walk you through what I'm calling the 12 laws of the restart. And I really believe that if you wake up every single day and do 1, 2, 3 of these laws, that you're going to be profitable and you're going to be scaling in no time whatsoever. Now, these 12 laws that I'm going to give you, this is high level practical teaching here. This isn't just theory. These are things that you need to do consistently, and they sort of go through a logical and linear order, okay? So you sort of need to start at law 1 and then go to law 2 all the way to law 12, and then once your restart is going, then you can go back and revisit these one at a time. But what I want to do is I want to jump in here and I want to see if I can help us do this. So law number 1, let's just start from the beginning. Law number 1 is you need to learn to become a beginner again. Okay, you need to learn to become a beginner again. And in order to do this, some of you are going to need to divorce your past. Some of you have failed in your past, and you need to divorce that. You need to let it go, because failure is never a person. Failure is an event, and that event is in the past. Some of you have had a lot of success in your past, and you need to divorce that, because what you're trying to do for so many of us, you're just simply trying to go back and replicate what once was. And you need to stop that, because if all you're trying to do in your restart is rebuild what you once had or what you once did, you're not going to be really successful at it, because you're not the person that you used to be. And the reason why this matters is when you attempt to replicate a previous success, or you try to prevent from making that mistake again, so to speak, you're operating from assumptions about how things should be. And what a beginner does, this beginner mindset strips away those assumptions. It allows you to come to your restart with a blank canvas. It gives you a set of fresh eyes, and it allows you to ask questions that you may have ignored before. So here's what you need to do in order to become a beginner again, okay? Number 1, you need to suspend judgment, okay? Now, what do I mean by this? There's typically an internal voice that tells you when you go to launch, this won't work. Oh, you've probably tried that before. Oh, somebody else tried that and it didn't work. Oh, I read something in a book and didn't. And you need to learn to pause that voice, and you need to gather data as if you've never done this before. The reason is because naivety, some of you need to write this down. Naivety is one of the greatest tools that you have in your arsenal when it comes time for relaunching. I remember when I first got into the entrepreneurial world, I started a landscaping company. I was 16 years old, and my parents were moving us to Chicago. I wanted to play basketball, and my parents were telling me, no, we're going to homeschool you because we don't like Chicago public schools and we can't afford a private school. And I'm like, there ain't no way I'm going to be playing basketball if I'm going to be homeschooled. And so they said, well, you're not going to go to a public school. We can't afford a private school. So if you're going to go to private school, you have to figure out how to pay for it yourself. And I went to my garage. There was a lawnmower. There was a weed eater. There was some, a hedger, all kinds of stuff. And a little bit later on that day, somebody had put a flyer on our front door. It was called Mow, Blow, and Go. It was a flyer. It was $35. And I'm like, oh my gosh, $35 to mow this little piece of yard that we have in Chicago. It seems crazy. And then I'm like, well, I'm used to mowing. I bet I could do that. And so I went down, created a flyer, and started my own little landscaping business, not charging $35, but I was only charged $7. And I put in these flyers on all these doors going up and down. I had a beeper back then, and by the time I got done passing out these 150 flyers, when I got back, I had so many calls that I couldn't make them all, I couldn't return them all the same day. And over the next 2 days, I got 20, 30 brand new clients at $7 a pop a week mowing grass, okay, as a teenager. And I ended up turning that business into my first six-figure year as a 16-year-old because we got so much business. Now, here's the thing. I probably couldn't replicate that again because I know too much. But because I was naive, I didn't know that you shouldn't mow grass with an electric mower. I didn't know that you shouldn't use an electric hedger to hedge, to hedge people's bushes. I didn't know that you needed insurance. I didn't know that, I didn't know anything. All I knew is I had a need and I went there and did it. And that naivety propelled me to starting a business. I grew that business to $100,000 in revenue over the course of my first year, became a six-figure, so to speak, as a 16-year-old, ended up selling that company for $25,000 when I went to college. All because I started, right? But I had a beginner mindset, so I didn't know what I didn't know. And so some of you, when you're restarting, you need to adopt that beginner mindset. You need to learn to suspend judgment, pause that voice in your head, gather data. You need to learn to ask foundational questions, okay? Instead of how can I make X version 2, you need to ask what do people truly need now? You need to become a student. What do people truly need now? What barriers exist that didn't exist before? Learn that, okay? You need to practice curiosity. You need to spend a week interviewing people who represent your ideal customer. I was just working with a client here last week, or 2 weeks ago actually, and this person didn't really know what they wanted to do or et cetera. And so I had them go interview 5 particular people in a field that they thought they wanted to get into, and I didn't want them to pitch anything. I just wanted them to listen and let their language shape their perspective. And what that person came back with me was a set of problems that he believed that he could solve, and we were able now to start the process of launching him a business. Why? Because he embraced that beginner mindset. He became a beginner again. So law number 1, when you're restarting, you have to become a beginner again. Law number 2. You need to reinvent your identity. Reinvent your identity. Okay? What you need to do is you need to realize that you're not just restarting a new product or a new business. You're really restarting a new you. I remember when I first got into coaching, it was a big shift for me because prior to that, I was a pastor. And my identity was locked in a pastor. So your identity is simply the label that you or someone else places upon yourself. And I was Pastor Chad. And now that I was becoming a coach, I had to learn to reinvent my identity. Okay, I had to reinvent the way I saw myself. I had to reinvent the way that I wanted other people to see me. And this perspective drives the decisions and choices that you make. Because shifting identity is foundational to making all subsequent steps authentic and sustainable. See, because it's very difficult to restart as somebody that you're not. So you need to learn really who you are, and you need to reinvent your identity. Let me tell you how to do that, okay? Let me show you how to do this. There's 3 things that you can do in order to do this. Number 1, you need to map your past selves. What do I mean by that? Sketch out the major versions of yourself up to this point, whether you're a student, an early entrepreneur, established professional, a mentor, whatever you are, and you need to identify patterns, which identity points propelled results, and which things in your personality limited them. Which ones propelled results and which ones limited them. And so when you're reinventing your identity, you really need to learn yourself. I was working with a client this week, Nikki, and Nikki said something that I just loved, and I'm going to quote her. She gets 100% of the credit for this. She said, "I got a master's degree in me." And I love that. See, that's part of reinventing yourself, okay? You need to articulate who you will become. You need to draft an identity statement in the present tense, like I am this, I am that. Whatever you want to become, you need to draft in the present tense, and you need to begin claiming that. So I am a coach, okay? I am a coach who integrates data-driven insights with human-centered storytelling, or whatever it is you want to be, okay? I am. Not I want to be, but I am. And you need to begin owning that persona, and you need to begin acting as that persona. Now, why does that matter? The reason why that matters is when you reinvent your identity, then you begin acting the way that you want to become. So when I said I want to be a coach, I had to say I am a coach. Then I had to start thinking, acting, and behaving as a coach behaves. I had to look at problems different. I had to come up with solutions differently because I was putting on the persona of a coach. That's what you do when you reinvent your identity. You map out your past self and you articulate who you will become, and then you create identity anchors. This is the third part of this. Create identity anchors. These are small daily rituals that reinforce your identity. Okay? So I remember when I first got into coaching, I started thinking about what coaches did, okay, what made them different. And there was a coach that I was following, a guy by the name of Sebastian Wynn. And Sebastian was actually one of my first clients, and we created a program for him called the Six Figure Coach. And he said something that I will never ever forget. And he said, coaches make statements, not suggestions. Coaches make statements, not suggestions. And he just said that flippantly. Okay, he just said it frequently, but it's always stuck with me. Coaches make statements, not suggestions. So now what I did, one of the identity anchors that I started doing to become a coach was I said, I am a coach. And then I started communicating to people in imperatives. I started telling them what they should, let me rephrase it. I began telling them what to do, not what I think they should do. And there was a big difference in the way that I showed up in this world because I had confidence. And what I learned was when I had boldness and I had confidence and I shared that with other people, it caused other people to have boldness and confidence. And so law number one, you need to embrace a beginner's mindset. Law number two, you need to reinvent your identity. Law number three. Okay, law number three. These are the 12 laws of the restart. You need to become known for just one thing. Become known for just one thing. When I first got into the coaching world, one of the most impactful books that I read was a book by Michael Hyatt called Platform: Becoming Noticed in a Noisy World. And one of the things that he emphasizes in there is that if you try to do too many things, you'll end up doing nothing. And the easiest way to get noticed is not to be a jack of all trade, but to become a specialist. And one of the things that I learned was that when you specialize in something, you become a specialist, you can become known for that. So when I first got into this world, I built funnels. And I was the funnel guy. And then I was helping people create online courses, and I was the course guy. And then I got really good at webinars, and then I was the webinar guy. And so I niched down in that particular thing, and I made some money around those particular things. And all of those created skill sets that I ultimately now use in my business, but I became known for something. Okay, I became known for something. When I got into coaching, I was like, okay, what do I want to become known for in the coaching world? And what I've become known for in the coaching world at first was I was the events guy. I was the guy who could create really cool small events between 12 and 24 people and profit six figures in a weekend. That's what I was sort of known for. And then I became the IP guy, the guy who could speak at a really high level. And as I began focusing on this, what do I want to become known for? I began realizing that the more specialized I become, the more money I made. Okay. Now, what happens is as you become an authority and an influencer, you'll become known for a few things, but in the restart, you need to become known for one thing. Okay. Because in a crowded marketplace, people must immediately think of you when they need that one thing. I can't tell you how many times. Well, I'll give you an example. I put a Facebook post up the other day saying I'm looking for someone in sales. And people started tagging all of the people that they know that are really good at sales. Why? Because those people are known for high ticket sales, and so they begin getting shouted out. See, that's free marketing. That's what happens when you become known for one thing. Becoming known for just one thing allows you to do a few things. Number one, it doesn't just allow you to be known for one thing, but it allows you to focus all your energy into one thing, and then you can go fast. It also allows you to know what you need to study, what you need to become proficient at, what you need to become better at when you're known for one thing. So here's how you do that. You need to audit your track record, okay? List your past successes, okay? Then identify the 2 or 3 that generated the most impact or joy. Determines which one can be distilled into a specific promise, number 2. Then choose that niche or that promise. So I always tell people, you don't need to niche on you don't need to niche on a person, you need to niche on a problem. What problem do you want to solve? And then number 3, you need to double down ruthlessly, okay? Redirect all your content, all your ads, all your conversations to reinforce that single focus. Whenever you create new material, check, does this serve my one thing? So law number 3 in the restart is become known for just one thing. Audit your track record, choose a single niche or problem, and then double down ruthlessly on that problem. Law number 4. You need to reimagine your offer. We're not just trying to replicate what we once had. We're trying to reimagine our offer, okay? So don't just merely adjust price or packaging. When you're restarting or rebuilding, you need to reconceive what you provide, because tomorrow's market demands a new solution. And by rethinking the problem that you solve, what's going to happen is you're going to avoid incremental tweaks. Okay, you're going to avoid that. You're going to avoid these incremental tweaks, and instead, what you're going to do is you're going to craft something uniquely resonant. John, one of my best friends and coaches. John's great at IP. He's written books. He's done sort of so many things. And about 8 months ago, he began his rebuild and his restart process. And he began looking at what is it that he's really good at, and what is it that people comment on, et cetera, et cetera. And he reimagined his offer, and he's got an offer called Travel With Me, where he will get you on an airplane, and he'll go to 4 or 5 different cities around the world, and you'll get to travel with him, and he solves your problems while visiting the intricacies of that city. So New York is one of his famous places, right? They'll do Broadway, they'll go to Carnegie Hall, they'll do some of the behind the scenes stuff, because he can do that as good as anybody. He has connections that nobody else has, and he's learned how to use these stories of the city to help you come up with breakthroughs, etc. And he's done so many of these now. In fact, I was just talking with one of my clients who just did a travel with me, Lauren, and Lauren said it was exactly what I needed. And I don't think I could have gotten that breakthrough any other way. See, that was John restarting, and he decided that instead of just doing what I've always done, I'm going to reimagine the offer. So don't just merely adjust your price. Now, how do you do that? How do you reimagine your offer? Okay. Well, the first thing is you need to define the core problem today. Okay. So instead of updating feature A, you're going to ask, what new pain points have emerged since the last time you did it? What new pain points have emerged since the last time I did it? I was sitting here looking at my notes from one of the trainings I just did called the 7 laws of the launch. You'll notice that a lot of the stuff I'm doing has laws in it now. I stole that from John Maxwell. I really like it. And we were talking about, in the 7 laws of the launch, how to launch your business in a post-AI world, that high touch is needed. And the reason is because the more automated things get and the more artificial intelligence takes over, the more distant people are feeling. And so high touches. So one of the things that I'm doing in my new offers is I'm beginning to put a lot of high touch, a lot of hand holding, things that I wouldn't do before, I'm beginning to do today, because I'm defining the new core problem as it exists today. I'm brainstorming. So the second thing is how you cultivate. You need to brainstorm 3 radical alternatives. Okay, so for each core problem, I want you to sketch a solution that ignores your previous formats. One of the things I love about what John did. John decided that he was going to take his coaching and reimagine his offer with this new Travel With Me. And what he did was he radically came up with different alternatives. Okay, so if you had sold a 90-minute workshop before, ask yourself, okay, Could it become a micro experience delivered over 5 days, etc.? I want you to radically think. So come up with 3 radical alternatives on how you could reimagine this particular offer. So one of the things I'm doing right now is I'm doing a thing called Slaycations. Slaycations. Everybody, people love the fact that I travel all over the world. They comment on it. They love the fact that I coach. And I've always done the United States, and I've always done these 30, 40, 50 person events where we implement something. And what I'm learning is implementation is great. We need to do it. Okay, that's what made me unique back in the day. But now people want to play as well. And so now I've created these things called Slaycations, where they get to travel all around the world with me, and we can do a little bit of work and a little bit of play. Slaycation. It's me reinventing my offer. Okay, and that's what you want to do. The third thing that you have to do is you have to validate before building. We're going to talk about that in a little bit when we get into the beta launch. But validate before building. Create simple prototypes. Okay, and gauge which version excites your target audience the most. Do like with Facebook and Instagram and Twitter and all of those things, you should be able to vet this relatively quickly. But reimagine your offer. So if you're restarting, law number 1 of the restart is you need to embrace a beginner's mindset, or you need to become a beginner again. Second thing is you need to reinvent your identity. The third thing is you need to become known for just one thing. And the fourth thing is you need to reimagine your offer. Now we got to go. What's law number 5? Law number 5 is you need to create a prototype. Create a prototype. Now what do I mean by that? You need to be able to move quickly from idea to minimal viable product. You got to go really quickly, because the worst thing you want to do is spend all this time, energy, effort, and money creating a product that nobody wants to buy. I remember back in the day, I went to this car show. I don't know if you guys go to car shows or not, but I went to this car show downtown Phoenix, and they had this area called the Car for Tomorrow, and they had this really cool looking car. It was funky looking. And I'm like, man, that would be awesome. And I remember asking the guy that was demonstrating the car, hey, how fast does this thing go? And he started laughing. He goes, I have no idea. There's not an engine in it. And he went on to tell me this is just a prototype. He goes, we put this out on the market because we're trying to figure out if people like it or if they hate it or could they see themselves in it. And what they were doing is they created a prototype to be able to gather data whether they should go back and build it. And now in my coaching program, this is what I teach, is I teach you to create a prototype of a product and then ultimately be launching in beta mode, because we want to see if the marketplace actually wants the type of product that you're offering. Okay? And so you need to go from idea to minimal viable product as quickly as possible. So how do we do that? Okay. Number 1, you identify your riskiest assumption. Okay, so when you do this, when you launch a prototype, so hey, here's what I'm thinking about doing, right? So when John first did his travel with me, he had never done it before, but he goes, hey, here's what I want to do. Who wants in? And people came and they did it. He didn't have it created. He didn't have a fancy website. He didn't have anything. He had an idea. He went public with his idea, and that idea then was vetted publicly. Then he took a couple people on it for pennies on the dollar. I don't even think he made any money on his first couple. He took people on this pennies on a dollar. He was able to evaluate whether the product was good or not, and now he charges $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 for his Travel With Me program. Why? Because he went from idea to minimal viable product as quickly as possible. So when you do that, it helps you identify your riskiest assumption. The second thing is it allows you to build the smallest possible version of it, okay? It allows you to build the smallest possible version of it. This is a stripped down version of what you're trying to do. So in other words, you may have a full-blown coaching program in mind, but when you go from idea to minimal viable product and launch a prototype, you may be able to deliver that coaching in like a small workshop. It's what we found out with my 90-day program. So when I got into coaching, I started the Catapult program. We help you start. It was a 90-day intensive, and we helped them create their minimal viable product, their messaging, their personal value proposition, their identity, their expert clarity statement, etc. We helped them do all this. It took about 90 days. The problem is after that 90 days, nobody made any money, and so now they're like, oh, great, I got this, now what? And so when I relaunched that, I relaunched it as a prototype and said, I wonder if we could do that in 2 or 3 days. And we created what was called the Yellow Brick Road. Now I call it the napkin experience, where we do it in 1 or 2 days, where I just come to you or you come to me and we build out your entire minimum viable product in 1 or 2 days. And what I learned was that allowed me to do this with the smallest possible version of what we were trying to build, and it allowed people to access it quickly. It allowed me to launch it quickly. I didn't need anything fancy for it when I launched it in prototype. And the third thing it allowed me to do is it allowed me to gather feedback ASAP. Okay? And so in a minute, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. So when I launch a prototype, it allows me to go from idea to minimal viable product as quickly as possible. So 1, I can identify the riskiest assumption, okay? Number 2, I can build the smallest possible version of it and still make money. And number 3, I can get real live feedback ASAP. That's what we're trying to do. And that's why I put this law in here. When you're trying to restart, you need to create a prototype. Don't go full blown in the whole thing, because you don't want to create a program that nobody wants it, okay? Law number 6, get a launch team. Get a launch team, okay? Even solo founders need collaborators. You need beta testers, mentors, strategic allies, okay? I got a brand new book coming out called Start, Sell, Scale. I can't wait to put this book in your hand. And I do an entire chapter on this launch team. One of the things I've been doing now over the last couple of years when I'm helping people launch their program is we build 2 teams. We build a beta team and we build a launch team. We'll talk about beta later on, but we build a launch team. And what this is where you go to your social media, because so many people say, well, I don't have a very big social media following, or all my people on social media, are college buddies or whatever, okay? And you're looking for every excuse in the world. So what we do is I help you build a team between 12 and 24 people, okay? Where you're going to go and you're going to invite them to be on your launch team. And I've got job descriptions, I've got everything to go along with this. You can find it all in my book when it launches. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to reach out to your social media, okay? People who know you, like you, trust you, follow you. You're not looking for these people to be your clients. You're looking for these people to be your partners. And you're going to go to them and you're going to say, hey, I have a brand new offer that I'm going to be launching, and I would like to invite you to be part of my launch team. And then you tell them what you want to do. And you're going to be saying, hey, I've got a live training coming up on this particular day. What I'd like for you to do is I'm going to create a post, and I'm just simply going to ask that you post this on your social media. Hit the @ button so everybody can see it, and just brag on it just for a little bit. I'm going to ask you to do that. Number 2, I'm going to ask you to show up live on that training. And the day of my training, I'm going to ask you to hit the share button so it goes to your audience. And number 3, I'm going to create a private Facebook group for my prospects, for my clients. And I'm going to invite you to be part of this Facebook group. I'm going to have 3 posts in there, and I just want you to comment all 3. So when I get new people in, it doesn't look like it's ghost town in there. Will you do that? It'll take you about 4 to 6 minutes of your time, but boy, it would help me tremendously. So you're going to build a launch team. And what you're going to do is you're going to begin borrowing other people's audiences. So you may only have a social media following of, let's say, 1,000. But let's say you invite 20 people to be part of your launch team. And let's say they all have a social media following of 1,000. So now what you do is now you've created a social media following of 20,000. And because you got 12 to 24 people sharing your content, now Facebook thinks that you're a big deal, and the algorithm begins shifting in your favor. Now more people are going to see your stuff. Okay, when you go live with your training, more people are going to share that, which means more eyeballs on your stuff, which means the chances of you being successful in your restart or your relaunch are incredibly high. So what you need to do is you need to identify 12 to 24 allies. Okay, the more the merrier. Okay, number 2, you want to formalize in a job description exactly what you're asking them to do. Don't make their responsibility more than 10 minutes. Okay, because you're not trying to, you don't want them to be your employee. You want them to be your promoter. Okay, and then you're going to activate this launch team incredibly quickly. So in other words, don't say, hey, I have a launch coming up in 2 months. Will you do X, Y, Z? You need to say, I have a launch happening next week. Okay, so get them today and then you're going to ask them to hold you accountable to your launch timeline, and you're going to go. Okay, so you need to get a launch team. People who restart and reboot well, they don't do it on their own. They get beta testers, mentors, and strategic allies to be able to help them. These people can also give you honest feedback. They can help amplify your message. They can hold you accountable, because success rarely happens in isolation. And when you have a team of people, what you'll find is 2 or 3 of those people, they want to do more than just be promoters. They actually want to help you, and they will do stuff. Yesterday, I've got 3 or 4 people in my DMs right now blowing me up. One wants to redesign a website for me. One person wants to know if they can interview possible salespeople for me. One person wants to know if they can run some Facebook ads for me, all for free. Why? Because they care for me. They care for my relaunch, my restart, and they want to be part of that team. So you need to get a launch team. Law number 7. Okay, law number 7. You need to help as many people as possible for free with a string attached. Okay, now what do I mean by this? Okay, what I mean is, I heard a guy, or I read a guy the other day who put on his Facebook page, if one more person asks to pick my brain, I'm going to throw up. And I'm like, I hope you never get to the point where you get frustrated with people who want to quote unquote pick your brain. The reason is when people want to pick your brain, that means that they are viewing you as an authority or as an expert on a particular topic. That means they're looking up to you. So when people pick your brain, you can talk with them, and then you can move them to the next logical step, which is buying your stuff. Okay. But when I got into the coaching world, I knew I needed an audience, and I don't know who it was who told me this, to be honest with you. I think it was Dave Woodward, God bless his soul, who told me that the quickest way to add value to people is to help them without asking for anything in return. And that's when I learned about the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity is when you do something valuable for someone else, they feel psychologically obligated to return the favor. And what I learned in the coaching world is that when I help people for free, when it now comes time for them to buy something, they're going to come back and they're going to buy it for free. I remember when I first got started, I took his advice, and then I started what was called the CF Design Academy. It still exists today. The CF Design Academy is where I taught people everything I knew about funnels and marketing as a top 30 designer for ClickFunnels, taught it to them absolutely free. And all I asked them to do was to join me on helping single moms and nonprofits for free as well. And I ended up getting several thousand people coming into this Design Academy, and about 85% of everybody in my first 5 years of coaching that paid me came from that free group. Why? Because I helped as many people as possible for free, but then I put a string attached. Okay. When I launch beta programs, what I do is I told people that I will help you. Okay. So, hey, I'm looking for 5 people, etc. I would help them, but I needed something in return. Okay. Now, normally when you help people for free, they'll do this automatically, but you can be intentional about it. So here's what I did. I asked them, we would do a free coaching session just like this. We would get done with the call, and I was like, hey, was that beneficial? Oh my gosh, it was so great. I'm like, hey, we're live, or not we're live, we're recording right now. Will you do me a favor? Just right this moment, will you record a quick little testimonial for other people? And immediately they'd get on there and say, hi, I'm XYZ, and hey, I just finished a call with Chad, and oh my God, it was this, and this, and then bam, I had an immediate testimonial. Okay. Then I would say, hey, will you write a little blurb inside the group saying you just did this and encouraging other people to do it? And boom, they would do that. So I got a video testimonial and a written testimonial from those people immediately. That was the string attached. And what I learned very quickly was testimonials were more important to me than cash. So instead of just charging a little bit of money and not getting a testimonial, I would work for free and get the testimonial, and I typically turn that testimonial into cash. What I learned more often than not was after that free session that I gave them for free, after that free session, they became a full-fledged paying client. Why? Because reciprocity is real. When you add value to people and you help people and you do it for free, their guard is down. And you go in, you show them the goods, now you've created value in their eyes, and they can't wait to take that next step. Why? Because they're wondering, God, if his free stuff is that good, I can only imagine what his paid stuff is like. And so they come in and they help you. So you need to help as many people as possible for free with a string attached. Okay, so I'll help you. I'm not going to charge you, but I need you to do this, or this for me. Okay, so you need to create a high value free offer. Okay, so what I like to do, if you don't know how to do this, what I like to do is I like to go into Facebook groups where my ideal audience is. So like for me, let's say it's the ClickFunnels group. There's 250,000 people in that group. I'll go in there and somebody will ask a question and I'll just help. I'll just go in and I'll make a public assumption of help. Boom. Do this, and this, okay? Or I'll put I'll write something helpful. Hey, I noticed so many of you guys are really struggling on how to make your site mobile friendly. Here's how you do it, okay? Or, hey, somebody said the other day they're really struggling doing this. And so I'll teach one of my principles. I'll teach it right inside the group. And more times than not, what happens is I'll get a lot of comments, a lot of information, and I'll comment, and I become a big fish in that pond. Why? Because I'm adding value. I'm helping. Okay, and then I can say, hey, you know what? I don't want to bore the group with all this stuff. You know, if you want more, just shoot me a DM. And then they'll shoot me a DM. They'll get in my DMs, and I'll help more. Get them on a call like this. I'll give them my free coaching, and bam, move them next step. See, that's free with a string attached. That's what you're trying to do. When you're trying to restart, you want to help as many people as possible. I'm going to give you a big number. Okay, I'm going to give you a big number. The number is 30. I want you to help 30 people every single day for your first 30 days. Okay, that's 120 people. I want you to, not 120 people, that's 150 people. That's 150 people every single week if we're going to take the weekends off or 2 days off. Okay, but I want you to work with 30 people every single day, help them free with a string attached for an entire month. And I guarantee you, if you do that, you'll have enough leads coming in that you can take that help and you'll turn it into a six-figure business. I promise you. I've done it multiple times. I've helped hundreds and hundreds of people do it multiple times. Select a high-value offer, clarify your boundaries. So you're going to tell them exactly, hey, I'm going to help you, but I need you to do this, and this, and then you're going to promote it widely. I was telling you about John earlier. Okay, John, when John first got into coaching, we helped him launch an offer, right? And we launched some content. And then he took that content and he started doing a thing called Triage Tuesday. So he took content and said, hey, I'm going to open up 4 30-minute slots on Tuesday. If you're struggling with XYZ, I'm going to let you take one of those slots. We're going to get on. We're going to hash it out for about a half hour and see if we can make some progress absolutely free. So he would do a piece of content, invite them to do his Triage Tuesday, and he would convert about 1 out of 2 people who would do a Triage Tuesday into a sale. In fact, if you were to reach out to John right this moment, he'll tell you that his first month of doing that, he turned that into about $90,000 of ongoing revenue using the Triage Tuesday method. That's called helping people free with a string attached. You really, really need to do that. So if I'm just starting out and I'm trying to restart, this is exactly what I'm doing. Okay, law number 8, restart in beta. Restart in beta. So remember earlier we created a minimum viable product. We said we're going to create a prototype and we're going to have a launch team. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to restart in beta. So by publicly declaring that your offer is beta, now beta is a Greek word. You got alpha, beta. It's a Greek word. It just simply means ugly. Not really. Beta means second, but it's the launch. We're going to launch it in beta. Okay. By declaring that your offer is in beta, you set proper expectations. People know that you're still shaping the final version. Okay. And what this is ultimately going to do is it's going to foster goodwill and honest feedback. It also prevents you as the expert from jumping into perfection mode because it's going to be launched ugly. And you know that, they know that, so just go. Okay, so you're going to launch in beta mode. When I first started Kavu Coaching, which is my big high-ticket product, I launched it in beta mode at $25,000. And we ended up selling 68 of these packages in 90 days in beta mode. And in order to launch in beta mode, there's a couple things that you have to do. Number one, you have to give them a pretty significant financial discount, right? So the coaching program was $50,000. We offered it for 50% at half off. Second thing I did was I told them that it was in beta. They were going to be part of my beta testers. I needed them to do some things like tell me about broken links, tell me if any typos or whatever. And that let me off the hook so I could go really fast. And so it didn't matter if I had buttons that were broke or typos or whatever because their job was to help me with it. Okay, but then I gave a really kick-ass I guess probably shouldn't say that word. I gave a really awesome risk reversal where they could pay $3,000 down, $2,000 a month while it was in beta. And if they didn't make 100% of their money back, all $25,000 in 90 days, they could push pause on their payments until they did. And what it allowed me to do is it allowed me to get a massive amount of people inside my coaching program very quickly because I started in beta, okay? So you need to label your launch beta. Okay, so you want everybody to know this. Sales page, email announcements, whatever you're going to do, people need to know that this is a beta offer. Okay, you need to solicit and prioritize feedback. Okay, so make some kind of survey or some kind of feedback channel where the people coming into this product or program that you're selling can give you real life feedback, and you need to make iterations weekly. Okay, so you need to ask yourself each and every week what worked, what didn't work, what helped, what confused people, and then you need to apply those fixes immediately and report those fixes back to your beta clients. The reason they'll do that is they'll understand that the beta wasn't just some trick to get them in, but the beta was actually a prototype that you're working on. Now, one of the things that I like to do is I like to launch online courses in beta where I teach the product live. And I tell them it's the only time you're going to get this kind of feedback from me. I'm going to teach live. Afterwards, I'm going to do Q&A. I'll apply the information to your specific business. You're going to come in for 10% of what I'm going to charge everybody else. You got to let me know about typos, broken links, what worked, what didn't work. But when the polished version comes out here in about 90 days, I'm going to give you the polished version that I'm charging $1,000 for. I'm going to give that to you absolutely free. See, it helps get people in my beta program. It helps me get them in for free. So when you're starting in beta, you need to publicly declare it. You need to label it as beta. You need to solicit and prioritize feedback, and you need to make changes in different iterations weekly, and then communicate that information back to your audience. And then when it finally does get polished, invite those people to be a part of it. Law number 9. Okay? You need to build a tribe of 100. Build a tribe of 100. What do I mean by this? What I mean is you only need 100 people who know you, like you, trust you, and follow you. You need 100 people in your tribe to turn your idea into $100,000. I have proven this hundreds and hundreds of times, okay? You're looking for your first 100 true fans, okay? This will create a solid base of case studies, testimonials, and word-of-mouth referrals. These core members will become the foundation of your restart, okay? You're looking for 100. Now, why does this matter? The reason why it matters is because some of you feel like, I don't have a list of 10,000 or 20,000, and I don't have very many followers on social media or whatever. That's okay. I want you to build a tribe of 100 people. And here's how you're going to do it. You're literally going to grab a sheet of paper, and every time you identify someone that you believe that you can help, that this new offer is going to assist, you're going to write their name down. Okay, you're going to write their name down. Okay, and then until you get 100, and then you're going to go after those particular people, and you're going to offer this free advice and free help, and then you're going to move them into a private Facebook group where you're going to consistently help them. Okay. And then hopefully they become buyers of yours, okay? If you can get 100 people into your community, not just 100 randos, but 100 of your ideal prospects, I guarantee you'll take those 100 people. If you have an offer of at least $1,000 to $2,000, you'll turn that into $100K over the next 100 to 120 days. I guarantee it. It happens all the time. Okay, but what it does is it forces your hand, because you want it to be a tribe. What is a tribe? A tribe is people who know you, like you, trust you, follow you, and you're aligned around a problem or a victory. So you have alignment, and they look at you as a person who can solve that problem for you. That's how I know if they're in my tribe or not. They're not just people who are acquainted with me. They're people who look at me as an authority or as an expert on a particular topic, and they're following me because they want information from me because they believe something I'm going to say or do is going to help them. That's a person in my tribe. You get 100 of those people, and I promise you we can turn that into a $100,000 business in the next 90 to 120 days. So you need to spend time. Law 9, when you're rebuilding, restarting, is 100. You only need 100. Go after those 100. So in order to get that, then you've got to be identified. You have to be able to define what your tribe criteria looks like. Who will advocate you, pay premium prices, refer others? Who gives you energy? Who do you actually believe your stuff will help? Okay? Those are people that need to be in your tribe. So you need to identify, bullet point, create a persona for what your tribe looks like. Okay? Second thing is you need to do personal outreach. Don't hesitate to say, "Hey, Johnny, I love what you're doing. I see you're stuck on XYZ. I'd love to be able to help you. I got this free call. I want to do free, no string attached. I'm going to say you something when we're done, et cetera, blah, blah, blah." And then you do personal outreach. You're going to spend dedicated time inviting people directly via emails, DMs, text messages, et cetera. You're going to begin doing that. And you're going to invite them to do something with you so you can identify whether they're in your tribe or not. That's it. You're going to identify them. And then you're going to over-deliver on care. Okay? For each of those 100, you're going to provide an exceptional experience, whether it's a one-on-one call or surprise bonus, rapid support. One of the best things I've ever done was I downloaded a lead magnet. Okay, and it was a free plus shipping lead magnet, right? And then I was going to get the electronic version immediately, and so I had to put my name, address, everything in there. So I got this information. This guy sent me in the mail a handwritten, and he wanted me to know that it was handwritten, not some kind of auto pen. So he wrote it on like a piece of school paper. Okay, he wadded it up. Okay, and then he signed it. And he put it in an envelope and he mailed it to me. And it was the coolest thing. He goes, "Hey, I just wanted you to know that I'm thinking about you, care for you. I didn't want you to think this was some random thing. So I wadded this piece of paper up, ran over it with my car, signed my initial to it because I want you to know this is specifically for you." And he said some of the really cool things. And then he goes, "I'd like to give you," and so he gave me some stuff, right? So I began following this particular person and I loved it. And when it came time to pay somebody, he was the first person that I paid. Why? Because he showed personal care for me. He reached out and he did some things that were a lot different, and I love that. So when you're talking about these 100, go over and above for these 100 people. Law number 10. Okay, when you're trying to restart. Law number 10. Wrong button. Forgive me. Law number 10. You want to over-deliver. Over-deliver. Okay? Under promise, over-deliver. You want to delight the first few beta buyers so they become raving advocates. Okay? You provide great service, bonus content, surprise upgrades, memorable experiences. These drive referrals and social proof. Julie Chanel, one of my favorite, former Julie Stoyan, one of my favorite marketers in the world. She does something that I love. So she has a group called Digital Insiders. It's, I think, a $25,000 mastermind program. And one of the things that she does with those guys, and she didn't promote it or advertise it, she just did it. She just surprised everybody with it. And it's created raving fans, and it's got to be one of the reasons why she's got such a high re-sign rate. Is one of the things that she did after they came in her group, she surprised them. She said, "FYI, I'm paying your way to go to Disney World," and created a free Disney World mastermind where she pays for these people to go to Disney World. It cost her a lot of money to do it. But she gets 80, 90% re-sign rates from these people, not just because she does a great job, although she does a great job, but because she consistently over-delivers. She over-delivers on content. She over-delivers on priority. She over-delivers on customer care. She over-delivers on quality of content. She works her tail off over-delivering, and she does a lot of these surprise bonuses. She over-delivers, and because of that, it matters. So you need to plan surprise bonus drops. You need to respond swiftly. You need to document and share wins. Highlight people. When somebody gets a win, go public with their particular win. That's all part of over-delivering, okay? Law number 11. Reinvest 35% in tribe building. So you're going to get your first 100 people in your tribe. bootstrapping it, word of mouth. You're going to reach out to them manually until you get 100. We're going to take that 100 people and you're going to turn it into your beta clients. And I guarantee you that if you get 100 ideal people in your tribe, you'll turn that into $100,000+ over the next 100 days. I've seen it happen time and time again. Okay. Then what you're going to do is the money that comes in, you're going to dedicate 35%. So 35 cents of every dollar into tribe building, okay? So you're going to transform 35% of your revenue into a self-fueling growth engine by aggressively building and continuously nurturing a list, okay? You're not going to spend money right now to make sales. You're going to spend money to build a tribe. Okay, and then with that tribe, you're going to over-deliver, you're going to help, the law of reciprocity is going to kick in, and you're only going to sell to your tribe. So you take, for the first 100, okay, you're going to invest your time, okay? Once you get your first 100, you're going to take 35% and you're going to grow your list with lead magnets and ads and all kinds of things, only for the sake of getting people in your tribe. You're going to over-deliver, you're going to help, with a string attached of a share and give me a testimonial, that type of thing. You're going to build your tribe, okay, and you're going to do that until you get to your first 1,000 ideal tribe members inside your tribe, okay. This comes from paid traffic, compelling lead magnets, and you're going to ensure that each dollar acquires a qualified email subscriber, and you're going to turn short-term revenue into long-term residual and community value. This is what you're going to do, okay? So 35%. So craft a high-value lead magnet. You're going to launch different tiered campaigns. We can get into this. You're not going to spend any more than $10 to $15 a day right now, okay, on Facebook. In fact, inside my tribe, I've got a free training that Laura Portier did called the $5 Facebook ads, $5 day ads strategy. And so we just tell people when you first start, it's going to be $5 to $10, okay? But you'll get to a point where you can spend more, but $5 to $10, $15, $20 max per day is all you're going to spend until you get to the point where you're spending 35% of all your revenue. What you will find is that will scale you more rapidly and put more money in your pocket in the long term than when you started. And then finally, law number 12 is you're going to get better every single day. Because it's okay to start in beta, it's not okay to stay there. So you got to get better every single day, okay? Because continuous improvement, mentally, skill-wise, operationally, will compound into massive progress over time. Small, consistent habits, learning, reflecting, refining, will keep you agile and will keep you ahead of the moving market. I said something to someone the other day that honestly hurt my feelings when I had to tell them this. But I told this person who reached out to me for some coaching, I said, one of the things I really struggle with you is you've been asking my help now for the last 7 years, and you hardly ever take any of my advice. But honestly, when I watch you online, you haven't changed. You haven't grown. You're doing the same thing today that you've always done. You're not getting better. And I'm afraid to tell you this, but the marketplace has left you and your strategies behind. So you were brilliant back in the 80s and 90s. You were okay in early 2000s. You were mediocre in the 2010s. But in the 2020s, you're irrelevant. And the only way you're going to get relevant again is if you dedicate yourself to getting better every single day. So you're going to learn daily. You're going to create daily learning rituals, okay? So block 15 minutes each morning to read an article, listen to a short podcast, or study something relevant in your field. You're going to, every Friday, you're going to look back at your calendar and look at your metrics, and you're going to say, what went well? Where did I stall? And you're going to identify one thing that you can do better next week. You're going to create what's called monthly invention days, where one full day each month you're going to do nothing but experiment, sketch a new product, an idea. You're going to interview maybe an industry expert outside your niche. You're going to create some kind of prototype of a new feature that you want to put in. You're going to get better each and every day. That's the deal. That's how you do it. So I'll recap. If you're like me and you just skip to the end, I'm going to recap. If you are going to, hopefully my notes are in order here, but if you're in rebuild mode, if you're in restart mode, there's 12 laws. 12 laws. Law number 1, you need to embrace a beginner's mindset. Law number 2, reinvent your identity. Law number 3, become known for just one thing. Law number 4, reimagine one offer. Okay? Law number 5, create a prototype, not a polished product. Law number 6, get a launch team, 12 to 24 people that are your avids that are going to help you launch. Law number 7, help as many people as possible for free with a string attached. Law number 8, restart in beta. Law number 9, build a tribe of 100 and only 100. Go after them. Go after them. Law number 10, over-deliver. Law number 11, invest in building your tribe. Invest 35% of all revenue in tribe building. And law number 12, get better every single day. And if you do that, I promise you that you will not only restart and rebuild quickly, but you'll become profitable and you'll be at the scale mode before too long. If I can help you, I would love to help you. I want you to take some time right this moment and comment down. If you're watching this on social media, just put a comment. What resonated the most with you? What's something that you need to work on right this moment? Okay, what law did you like the most out of the 12? Shoot me a DM and ask me for my free coaching session. And I'm happy to get on a call with you, 30, 45 minutes, even an hour if I have to see if I can help you create your restart and your relaunch plan. And let's get you, your life, and your business to a whole nother level. Remember, guys, you only have one life. You might as well make it count.